of home decor, renovations, and products that are available here at the Home and Garden Show. Have you wishing for a home of your own? Well, then there are some important things to consider before you buy. And here to help us out with it is financial advisor and good friend Rob Wilson. He's here with 5 tips for first-time home buyers in today's Money Monday segment.
And the first tip that I have, and it might come as a shock to some people, and I don't want to be Debbie Downer, right? But you shouldn't necessarily view your primary home as an investment. Now, I think a lot of people realize this the hard way, given what we've gone through in 2008 and 2009 and the housing crisis. But I think people should really view their home as a place to live, have shelter, raise their family, keep your things. Because when you really look at it, and this just isn't my opinion, when you really look at the numbers, home prices really just keep pace with inflation. So here's what a lot of people do. They say, well, my grandmother bought a house in 1970 for, $50,000, and now it's worth $180,000. Well, prices have gone up the same in that amount of time. A loaf of bread was probably, 35 cents at that time too. So it really just keeps pace with inflation. View your home as a place to live, raise your family, not necessarily as an investment.
Not as your sole investment. So the stock market does better, generally speaking, than investing in a home?
By far. If you the stock market has by far outpaced real estate. And when you look at it, the stock market investments are liquid. You can go get that when you need it. You need to sell that home, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, good point. Okay, number 2, the biggest obstacle, the down payment.
Yeah, this is what keeps a lot of people from becoming a homeowner, because look, most people are paying rents that they could say, look, I could be paying a mortgage and have a house at this same price. Right. So the down payment is the biggest obstacle. Now, one tip I would like to let people know is that you can use your IRA for $10,000 to use as if you're a first-time home buyer. This is a great choice if you've been saving in a retirement account, or let's say you had a 401k, you left the job, you rolled it over into an IRA.
A Roth account too?
Roth as well. And Roth is actually a better option because you won't be taxed on those funds because it's there, you already paid taxes on it. So if you take the funds out of a traditional IRA, you will pay some income tax, but it's still a great source to tap if you need some funds for your down payment.
That is a great idea.
Now then you need to determine your monthly budget. In other words, house poor.
You absolutely don't want to be house poor. Now, even if you had socked away some funds and you can handle that down payment, you want to make sure that you're not spending too much of your monthly income on your mortgage, such as you can't do other things like go out to eat, maybe go on a vacation, do some other things that you're going to enjoy. And here's one cost that you really have to think about. If you're going to go buy a big house in the suburbs and you work in the city, you have to think about all of the gas and the transportation and wear and tear on your car to get back and forth. Parking is a huge expense. So I tend to tell people you don't want to spend more than 30% of your take-home pay. Now, a lot of the websites that you see will do this calculation based on the gross. But look, you don't take the gross home. There's taxes coming out, your retirement plan. 30% of your take-home pay is probably a good level where you won't be stretched too thin with your monthly budget.
Well, and you got to figure money. We're looking at all this home improvement stuff. You got to keep the house maintained. Things break. You need to update them.
Well, here's the thing. Yes, we've always thought that homes just always appreciate. But anyone who's woken up in the morning and the roof's leaking and you've had to replace it, or the furnace goes out, look,
or the
it's
kids,
very
expensive. Kids have torn up all the furniture.
Absolutely. Or they've written on the walls and you have to repaint the whole thing. Look, it's very expensive to be a homeowner, and you're responsible for those costs. When you're renting, you just call up your landlord and say, hey, come fix my dishwasher. So those things are important. You want to make sure you have an emergency fund set aside that you can handle those emergencies as they arise. And if you're too stretched with your mortgage payment, you're not going to be able to do that.
Now, what do you mean when you say get your credit and financial situation in order?
So here's the thing. Most people in America don't even know what their credit score is, right? And so they don't think about it until they're sitting at the desk and hey, I'd like a mortgage. Well, at that time, it's a little late if you really need to improve your credit score. And obviously, the higher your score is, the lower your mortgage rate is going to be. So you're going to save a lot of money over time. So if you're thinking about buying a house, give yourself enough time to fix your credit. And the best thing you can do there is try to get your debt down. If you can pay some of those credit cards off, get those levels down, you'll look like a much better borrower to the bank, and you'll get much better rates.
All right, and one more. Read all the contracts thoroughly.
This is huge. This is where a lot of people got in trouble in the financial crisis. Didn't read the mortgage and didn't read the buyer's contract. So the first thing is read your mortgage. Understand, do you have a fixed or adjustable rate? Please don't get an adjustable rate. But if you have to, make sure you know what the rate is, when it adjusts, and how it's calculated. People had no idea, so they got a mortgage payment bill in the mail, and it was 50% more than it was the previous month, and that's when people got into a lot of trouble. But also read your buyer's contract. Sometimes the buyers will try not to include things like the appliances that are in the house, and if you don't read the contract, you'll miss that and not really understand everything that you're buying, and now you have to go buy a new set of appliances. So make sure you read everything and you know exactly what you're getting into when you're buying a house.
Great advice,
Good
Rob.
stuff.
Thank
As always,
you.
Rob, thank you so much.
Rob Wilson of Wilson Insight. And if you want more financial advice from Rob, watch for his regular Money Monday segments right here on PTL.